Hi, third graders. I'm going to be reading chapter 14 today, and I am wondering about that garden. I'm wondering if it's really magical, and I'm wondering if it really was able to heal the dog. Remember the one that's leg was hurt that was named Jemima, but that's really a boy, and Mary thought it was a girl? I don't know. Um, I'm still kind of freaked out about that room and the ghosts and all that stuff, too, but I am going to read chapter 14 to you and we'll see what happens. Chapter 14 The Robin's Secret. When Mary was heading outside the next day, she passed the library and she saw her uncle in front of the paintings of his wife. His face was rigid. "No point in keeping them," she heard him mutter. Mary crept past, but as she slipped outside, she thought about her uncle. He was a very strange man. Why didn't he want to keep the pictures of his wife? And why did he keep Colin locked away, not letting him outside? And why did he tell him that he had a hunchback? Does he hate Colin? She wondered. After all, he didn't go to him when he was sobbing with pain, and he makes him take that medicine that he hates. But even as the thoughts crossed her mind, Mary remembered the expression on her uncle's face as he had hesitated outside of Colin's door. He had looked tortured. She shook her head. Why would her uncle look like that, but not go in and try to comfort his own son? It just didn't make sense. This house has too many secrets, she thought. Glancing back, she caught sight of Mrs. Medlock watching her from an open first-floor window. Mary carried on, and after a few minutes, she saw Mrs. Medlock come out of the house. Mary smiled to herself and skipped into some nearby trees. She was hidden from sight, and she ran to an old yew tree and climbed high up into its branches. She waited. Sure enough, Mrs. Medlock came hurrying along the path, looking to the left and right. So, it does look like you're spying on me, Mary thought. Whatever for? She waited until the housekeeper had disappeared from view, and then she dropped down lightly and doubled back through the trees, heading straight for the wall. She was desperate to get to the garden. She wanted to know how the dog was. Was he better or worse? As she scrambled over the wall, Mary wondered whether there was a gate or a door, or something that led into the garden. Surely there must be a way that didn't involve climbing. I must try to find a real entrance, she thought. She climbed down, wondering if Dickon would be there. Hurrying across the carpet of dry leaves, she noticed new green ones unfurling on the branches in the sunshine, and her heart lifted. Spring was approaching, and the garden seemed to be coming back to life. I could do some weeding, she thought, as the magic seemed to guide her feet into the garden of statues. I could tame some of the undergrowth, make the flower beds look like they did in the photograph from when I was little. She skipped in happiness at the thought, and then she spotted Dickon in the temple. He had shrugged off his thick winter jacket and was clearing some brambles with his knife. Dickon had taught Mary to whistle the day before, and now she whistled to him. Dickon looked around and lifted his hand in greeting. "Have you seen him?" Mary asked anxiously, running over. "Is he healing? Is he worse?" There was a rustle, and then the dog ran out from the bushes behind Dickon. With a welcoming bark, the dog bounded toward Mary. "He's better!" Mary cried, dropping to her knees. The dog jumped around her, wagging its tail. She stroked and patted him. "He's still got a limp, though," Dickon said, walking over to them. "But the leg is taking his weight now." "The garden cured him." Mary's eyes shone. Dickon grinned. Well, the garden had a little help." "No, Dickon," Mary said earnestly. "This is a magic garden. It can heal people and dogs." She gazed around with new wonder at the overgrown garden, the temple, and the statues. The dog barked at her again, and then she barked back. "What are you doing?" said Dickon, looking amused. "I'm a Yorkshire Terrier," giggled Mary. Dickon chuckled and then barked himself. "Well, I'm a Yorkshire Terrier too, then." Mary ran around in a circle, barking, and the dog ran and woofed behind her. Come on, she cried, grabbing Dickon's hand. What? Where are we going? Mary grinned at him. Come on, just run. She sprinted off, happiness bubbling through her as she ran off for the sheer joy of it. The dog raced behind her, and she could hear Dickon's boots thudding on the grass behind them. As they charged through the garden, new stems seemed to rise up from the ground, twisting up around the temple columns, buds bursting open into bright red and yellow flowers as the garden was responding to their joy. Sunlight fell on Mary's face, and she opened her arms wide. She touched the plants as she ran. Spring had quickly come to her garden, and all around her the plants were suddenly beginning to bloom. There were blue forget-me-nots, tall orange lupines, and red azaleas that were bursting into life. Deep pink and purple flowers appeared on the dark green rhododendron bushes, and white flowers exploded on the twisted branches of the magnolia tree. The buds seemed to open just as the children touched them. This garden is magic, Dickon. I know it is, Mary cried. They raced through the giant ferns and reached the stream. They splashed through the temple and ran on. When they could run no longer, they threw themselves down in the long grass near the broken statue where Mary had found the key. The dog lay panting between them. Mary gazed at the cornflower blue sky. Her blood felt like it was buzzing. Hearing a merry twittering, she saw the robin circling over her. As she propped herself up on her arms, it landed on her knee and then hopped into her hand. Mary lifted it up carefully. Hello? It chirruped as if it was trying to tell her something important. Dickon smiled. Well, looks like you've got a friend there. Yes, I've met this bird before, she said. She looked at the robin intensely. You showed me where the key was. Are you trying to tell me something now? The robin began to sing louder. Mary frowned. What could the robin want her to do? Then an answer came into her head, and she reached into her pocket, and with her other hand, she pulled out the key. The robin twittered and hopped up and down. I think he's telling me to find the gate to the garden, the gate that this key unlocks. A sudden wind blew around the garden. See, said Mary in delight, even the garden is agreeing with me. The robin flew up into the air and circled around before flying to a different statue, and he perched on it. Look, we need to follow him, Mary declared. Dickon gave a shrug and then let her lead the way. The robin flew back to the wall where Mary had first climbed over. Well, maybe we have to look for the door from the other side, said Mary. Yes, she decided. I think that's what he's saying. Dickon shrugged, but seemed happy to follow. They climbed the wall and began to explore it from the other side. As they walked together with the robin flying ahead of them and the dog at their feet, Mary decided to tell Dickon the story of Rama and Sita and the monkey god, Hanuman. Dickon listened, nodding occasionally. Well, Mary said eagerly when she had reached the end of the story. Did you like it, Dickon? I like the idea of a flying monkey, he said. Mary grinned. Just then the robin flew to the wall and clung to a curtain of creepers, singing very loudly. A gust of wind rushed by, lifting up the ivy and revealing a metal gate. Dickon, gasped Mary, starting to push through the bracken that blocked the way. It's a gate to the garden. Mary began to pull the creepers away. Dickon joined her, tugging them to one side until they could see the gate beneath. Taking out the key, Mary pushed it into the lock. It stuck for a moment, but then it moved with a click. Mary turned the handle, and the gate opened. She looked at Dickon in delight. This is the proper way in. It's what the robin wanted us to find. The robin circled around her head, tweeting happily. Mary felt excitement buzzing through her. Already an exciting plan was forming in her mind. The gateway was wide enough for a wheelchair to fit through. Yes, she knew Colin said he hated the outdoors, and it was dangerous to him, but she was sure that that wasn't true. If she could just bring him to the garden, maybe he would start to feel better. Maybe its magic would heal him, like it had helped heal the dog. Oh, Dickon, she breathed. Her eyes were shining. Finding this gate could be the thing that really makes all the difference.